Monday, Monday, Monday. It's the battle of the century, the Shop Showdown.
I really feel like you stacked this against me.
Dealerships versus independent shops. Who has the advantage?
We have bicycles, we have scooters, we have tricycles, we have red wagons.
Who will win the fight for supremacy?
Let me even just kick you in the cojones one more time.
Find out the answer only on this special two-part service drive revolution event. And it all starts right now.
Welcome everybody to Service Drive Revolution. We have an exciting show for you today. We are going to talk about the Shop Showdown, dealerships versus independent shops. Who has the advantage? It's going to be fun. Welcome everybody, Jeremy, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. How are you?
Creator of the Profitable Service Advisor and shop owner somewhere in the IE.
Somewhere in the IE.
And then Christian from Chris Collins Inc. What department do you run?
Coaching, for sure.
Coaching. So head of the coaching department.
And then I like to dabble. I dabble.
That's not a department.
He's in the
so
dabbling department.
Last week we had on a best of because I was gone, right? So I went on vacation. I went up to Washington State. And you guys are both parents, right?
Yes.
So do you realize that you guys are raising potatoes?
Tell me more about that.
Your kids are potatoes. They're worthless.
Okay. They might disagree with you.
So I rented this Airbnb on this lake up in Washington that my family's had property at forever. Every summer we would go there and we would water ski. So like water skis, like one ski or two skis. And we literally would water ski until like our hands fell off. Like we couldn't wait to get there. Even if we got there like late Friday and we were gonna camp out there, we would water ski in the dark with a flashlight. Like
Wow.
the best thing. These kids that you guys are raising don't water ski. You know what they do?
They water ski on their devices.
Like what do you mean,
Virtual
their
water
cell
ski?
phones?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a video
No,
game
so
for it.
I don't know, now they're not even inner tubes anymore. Like we used to ride a real inner tube behind the boat.
Like the black one. With
Yeah,
like the
now they
valves
have
hidden
these
sticking out.
blow up kind of inner tubes that are like a lounge chair. And they sit in the lounge chair
lot like the-
texting
lot like the
behind the
couch
boat.
chair.
But nobody was water skiing.
It's a shame.
Why do you think that is?
Parenting, terrible parenting.
Parenting.
That reminds
Like,
me
why
my,
don't you guys tell your kids to put the phone down or the Xbox and actually go outside and throw a rock at a car or something?
Well, we could tell them that, but they don't listen to us. So if you want to get through to them, you have to text them that, and then they might do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is the way to
Yeah,
communicate.
that is the way to communicate.
So my son, the potato, he's big into astronomy. And he asked me one day, he says, "Dad, how do stars die?"
This is the greatest segue ever. Okay, wait. So your son the
His
potato.
son the potato.
So I'm gonna try and get
So
this out now.
your son asked you about astronomy.
He did. Well, he said, "How do stars die?" And I had to sit
Is
and think
he
about
interested in astronomy? It's
Yeah,
something that
for
he's
sure.
really-
Loves it. Telescope, the whole nine. And I had to think about it, and I'm like, "Gosh, how do stars die?" And I looked at him and I said, "Typically an overdose."
I get it. Do you get it?
I get it.
Nice segue, Christian.
Thank you.
But we do acknowledge that your guys' kids are lazy. You're raising a generation worse than the last lazy generation. Like things just get more.
So it's really interesting right now. So they canceled the Rose Parade, like done. And California has said that if your county's on the watch list, that they can't go back to school. So now we've got this dividing
Which is
point
basically
to-
everybody.
Right. So I'm thinking as a parent, I've got to really step in because now you lose that regiment of the bell rings, you got to be up early, you got to get to school. It's online, I check in, I really think we've got to do something, because you're right. We're going to go down a path where, just personal responsibility, accountability, work ethic, all these things are just going out the window. It's a pandemic. I mean, no pun intended.
So this was funny, but the Airbnb I rented up there, the neighbor, like at one point I was out on the deck barbecuing, and he comes over and does, from his deck to the deck I'm on, he does the, hey, where are you from? Like all that. And then he says, oh, California, you guys are all dying down there of COVID or whatever. And then he says, something like, he goes, in Mason County, we only have 4 cases. And then he made some funny comment like, and we killed those 4, like they're buried. But no, there's no COVID up there like there is here.
Right.
But it's not dense. Like people there like have acres and live on property.
And I'd be curious, how many tests have they actually ran in that county? I mean, so per capita.
Nobody's sick, so they don't need to, but social distancing is natural up there.
It is, yes.
Yeah, and you're outside. And
they communicate with smoke signals.
No, but seriously, like it is a weird thing that nobody water skis. I thought that was really odd.
It's a different generation for having fun. Like, our parents used to tell us we'll be home when the streetlights come on, and so you'd be out playing and stuff. You didn't sit down for hours on end. I'm amazed. One of my children will literally, I get up for work sometimes at 2:30, 3:30 in the morning, and as I'm leaving, he's still playing video games with his buddies, and it's just like, that's normal these days, and it's like, that's crazy.
But it's funny, I don't remember as a kid, I don't remember my parents ever saying, go out and play baseball all day. Like, they didn't tell me, it just did it, right? Like, it was just one of those things that outside was the freedom and everything like that. But the world has changed, but we do own that. Like, we have to fix that, because it's going to be ugly if they don't have some sort of sense of motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really good point.
Interesting observation.
Literally, they're texting on the back of one of these loungers, riding behind a boat with the wind in their face. Like,
yeah, they're not having
doing
an experience.
nothing.
Just happy
it's not physical either.
Yeah.
You should be happy they have waterproof phones.
The Chevy dealership by my mom's, I drove by, no cars.
Really?
0 cars, like empty. The Ford dealership.
No cars for sale or no cars in service?
For sale, no service had
no
cars.
No inventory?
0. We have clients, right?
Same
that
thing.
They won't have cars until middle of next month.
Yeah, there are some that are even further out than that right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's really getting crazy.
They don't have a car to sell.
Yep. Auction prices are going crazy for pre-owned vehicles too.
Geez.
Like, it's a thing.
We did 3 of our monthly calls with so we had our elite call, so all the elite managers in our coaching group. Then we had 2 of our bigger dealer groups, and record months, like booked out 2 weeks, like crazy. And the whole time, I wasn't wearing pants.
So proud of him.
Well, you were,
because it was on Zoom,
yeah,
right?
got it. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Clearly my jokes aren't as funny as Christian's. I need a better segue.
Yeah.
Like I should have said, like, you know what that reminds me of?
Yeah, there's got to be a transition. So.
Yeah.
It's all about the transition.
I'm excited about the topic today. Should we get to it? Are you ready?
Yes.
Shop Showdown, dealerships versus independents. Who has the advantage? So today we're going to do dealerships, and then in the next episode, you're going to have your rebuttal.
I have to wait a whole week for all this pent up.
I'm going to pound this into you today.
You're going to need some.
Obviously, independents have the advantage. Obviously.
Independents have the advantage?
Obviously.
Don't you want to hear my list first?
Your list is probably like, I'm going to make a prediction. Half of the items on your list are funded by a very large corporation and a huge budget.
What's the conspiracy theory with that? I don't understand.
There's no conspiracy theory.
Funded by what?
Well, you'll see. Read your list. What's number 1?
What's number 1 on my list?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are talking about who has the advantage, dealerships or independent shops? Who has the advantage, right? So the first advantage that dealerships have is they can sell them a car.
They're lucky they get to sell them the car.
But they can sell them a car.
Well, they can, and they do.
Yeah, so it's the circle of life, right?
Yes.
So if a car needs more work than it's worth, they can just walk up to the sales department.
I'm thinking of a statistic that I've heard on the show numerous times of the retention that dealerships have after 3 years on the service drive. What's that
home field advantage?
Yeah, well, is that?
I call it home field advantage.
Okay.
So
dealers are really good at service retention after the car's out of warranty, right?
no, in most dealerships, service is an afterthought, but they have the advantage. I'm not saying they use the advantage.
Oh, so they don't actually exploit it?
No.
Oh, okay, I can understand
They do
that.
not exploit it, but they could if they wanted to.
Oh, absolutely, they could. Could you imagine if dealerships put the time and effort into servicing the customers that they had rather than trying to sell new cars, what that retention would do? Like, I just imagine, like, all the money they put into marketing.
Not only could I imagine that, I stay awake at night thinking about it.
And that the sales would happen organically if they took just great care of the customers.
Do you agree that that's an advantage? I'm not saying that they use the advantage, but it is an advantage.
I just have to clarify one thing. Is there a bet going on here that you're going to get me to your side of this fence?
Yes.
I have to concede on this one. It is an advantage.
Okay. Yeah, it's clearly an advantage. I don't think that's too much of a stretch, right?
Okay.
Okay, the next one is perks.
See,
dealerships have more perks for the customers than independents. Example, loaners.
Because the cars break down so much, they need to put them in loaners?
Listen, loaners.
Okay.
Shuttles.
Everybody has access to shuttle drivers.
Okay, but the other one I have here is people for contingencies. So let's say in most independent shops, if there's 3 customers that need a shuttle at the same time, in a dealership you can pull a cashier, you can pull somebody from somewhere, but usually...
I guarantee you can find somebody from the parts department not doing anything, but that guy probably has a nose ring, tattoos.
So you do agree that there's somebody sitting around in parts that could be pulled, which creates more perks for the customer because they're sitting around.
Especially because that person is probably going to try to sell the marijuana on the way home.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
Selling marijuana.
That's how parts profits rise, is they funnel marijuana through the shuttle drivers on the way home. It's
And if the customer says no, is that a lost sale?
Yeah, it would count against the closing ratio.
Got it.
It is legal in California. Just
Interesting.
It's legal in a lot of states, I think. Colorado, Washington. I don't know what else.
Okay, so I agree with your perks. Now, I've walked into some dealerships and I look around and I'm like, who is paying for all this?
Did I say car wash?
No,
did not
but it's a
say
good
car
one.
wash.
Perk, car wash.
Automatic or hand wash?
I actually, we had a dealership as a client that had a movie theater.
Yep. Seen it before.
Really?
Movie theater.
Is it closed down now?
How many independent shops have movie theaters?
Well, it depends. Does an iPad count as a movie theater?
Like a real movie theater.
Like lounge chairs,
Yeah.
popcorn, all that?
Oh yeah, popcorn,
smell.
cookies.
Spunkmeyer's.
A lot of
best.
dealerships have cookies,
Well, some independents do too.
coffee.
Okay.
I've seen a sushi bar at a dealership before.
The espresso machine I have here in the safe house. Any independent shops have that?
We will soon. Coming to Freedom Auto Repair
Really?
in 2020, Q4.
Okay, so
That's a tie. I'm not giving you perks.
what?
That's a tie.
Please explain.
Because anything on that list, okay, I don't care. I could beat your 3 people standing around. If 15 customers needed a ride at the same time, I could handle that. We have Uber, we have Lyft, we have bicycles, we have scooters, we have tricycles, we have red wagons, we have my car, 2 of our loaner vehicles.
That's interesting because number 3 I had on here is that independent shops think that customers want to ride tricycles.
Wait, are you serious? Let me see that.
Red Rider.
Oh my gosh.
So you're saying
branded
that customers want to ride tricycles and bicycles?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a new era of transportation. Do you agree that
So
transportation
basically
is
you're
changing?
conceding.
No,
Okay.
it's a tie. I'm not giving you that one. Not giving it on that one.
Next one I have is expertise. And this is a long list.
Expertise at fixing the same car over and over again?
Yeah, so you're in an independent shop, one day you see an F-150 pickup and the next day you see a BMW 3 Series. And so you don't have the special tools for the BMW. Sometimes you don't have all the diagnostic equipment. So in a dealership, you have the tools, you have factory training, you have bulletins and warrant, you have access to.
Wait, are you telling me that the dealership has access to the bat phone to the engineers that built the car?
Yeah,
Essentially.
basically, yeah. So you're gonna have some sort of technical support.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
That's a pain for me right now. I mean, obviously, you guys know, being an independent shop owner, that sometimes I have the duty of fixing the hard cars.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do you have on that list? With
You have a
expertise?
parts department. So the parts department's there.
Are you actually saying the parts department is an advantage?
So hypothetically, in a dealership, if you have if you're a Ford dealer and you have a lot of F-150s and they go through brakes a lot, you have those brakes and rotors there. If the parts manager's doing his job, you're going to have the stuff that is needed that you see trends of. They're going to be right there in the back. You just walk back and somebody's going to hand you that. They're going to put it on a repair order, and it's
a pretty big.
You don't have to go somewhere to get it or wait for it to be delivered. It's right there.
I will say that the parts.
So special tools.
Okay.
Factory support, right? Factory training. So they train the techs. The techs are only working on specific cars.
Okay.
Even in some dealerships, like we have clients that have like Ford dealerships, the technicians not only work on Fords, but they will only do suspension.
Right.
Or they will only do transmissions. Or, I'm a drivability guy. And you're like, well, there haven't really been a lot of drivability concerns in the last 5 years. Well, that's what I do.
I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait. So
it's a Ford.
They specialize. It's a huge
drivability
advantage.
concerns.
Because that guy knows everything about drivability ever on a Ford in the history of drivability ever being an issue.
I really feel like you stacked this against me. Like, you had to go first with dealerships because expertise. I have to concede.
I did not consider that going first would be an advantage. I actually thought going second would be an advantage. I would have happily gone last.
You're gonna bias the audience just because you're going first.
I think going last biases the audience, don't you, Christian? I always want to go last.
Our experience is that the person that goes last usually has the biggest impact.
Yeah, but
so I mean, there is an end game to all this, and
the facts are the facts. Like, you're gonna win on the facts or you're not. Going first, I don't think matters.
Okay.
So do we concede that one?
So you're 2 for 3 right now.
How many times have you had to call a dealership and ask them for a tool?
I don't do that.
What do you do when you don't have a special tool and you can't get the thing off, the widget off the thing?
I go to my toolbox and it's in there.
So
so
you're saying all the special tools we buy from the factory that they force us to buy are useless?
Well, I'm saying a lot of times you can engineer it yourself for like pennies on the dollar.
Interesting.
There's more than one way to set cam timing.
Technology is amazing. My grandfather and I were just
I like
talking
it.
about,
I'm in your head.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because you're like,
I
didn't get to go first.
in my head.
Yeah, so my grandfather and I were
This
talking
reminds you of your grandfather?
It might.
Another segue.
You didn't hear that 30 seconds ago?
I did. I tried to step on it and he came right back. This reminds me, Jeremy, of my grandfather. who was a fireman, by the way. Special tools.
It's got to be loose. It's got to be a loose interpretation.
Jeez.
But yeah, he told me that I was too wrapped up in technology, and I called him a hypocrite and unplugged his life support.
What's even better is you couldn't get it out without laughing.
Dang it. Practice.
Okay, so I like it. I'm in your head because you're already kind of conceding. You're like, he got to go first. Like, you're giving all these signs.
Same way that you're doing with the audience by going first. See, it's all the power of
I think our audience is
NLP and persuasion.
Our audience is 50-50, I think. So,
okay.
I don't know, too, like, when we're done with this list, I want you guys to put in the comments what you think we missed on the list or what your thoughts are, right?
Great thought, yes.
Okay, So the next one I have is it dealership service departments are one-stop shops.
Unless you have to order parts.
How many tires have you done in the last month in your shop?
I don't do tires.
Most of the independent shops we talk to don't do tires, alignments. They don't have a body shop. So even if a dealership doesn't have a body shop, they will have a relationship with the body shop that they get kickbacks from for sending them the business, right? So they're a one-stop shop, full circle.
This is a tie as well. Because anything that the dealership can do like that, independents can provide as well.
But let's just say you wanted to exercise your home field advantage and you wanted to be a one-stop shop. It would be very inconvenient for a customer to go to your shop to get the widget replaced and then go here to get tires. And
Correct.
like it is an advantage. Do we not agree? How well they execute on it is a secondary.
I'm sorry. So we're just talking about is it an advantage, not how well they execute. So execution is completely different then.
Well, in anything, right? You talk about NFL teams. Some are good and some aren't. Like,
all right, I'll concede on this one with the footnote that understanding that consumers are shifting and they do want more convenience wrapped up in their service experience.
what does that mean? They want to go to Costco to get their tires and they want to come to you?
Well, I mean, there is a certain segment of the market that wants to go to Costco, but at the same time, if we're servicing, say, 150 cars a month, that's 150 set of tires that are going to be sold at some point in time. How do I tap into that market if I want to provide it? So if, and dealerships numbers are a lot larger, like they may work on 1,500 cars a month, so it's a natural add-on there. I think it's just, is it an advantage to have one stop under one roof? Absolutely.
Well, I think, and I don't know if you guys experience this in a day-to-day thing just in your personal life, but the one thing that people don't have is time.
Right.
And so a lot of times dealership, the tires will be more expensive, but a customer isn't going to spend another 2 hours, meet somebody they don't trust, go through the process. Maybe it's done right or not, and they have to come back. If they have a relationship with the dealership and they trust them, they'll pay a little bit more for the tires just to save the time and have it done. And if the car's there for the morning or there for the day, why not just have it done while it's here? Right. And so it is an advantage.
So, I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and I think it's, in today's consumer, time is greater than money. So if I can save you time, it's worth dollars. And those are companies that are becoming billion-dollar companies overnight have found a way to save consumers time, and that is translated into dollars. So You're absolutely right there. I can't tell you how many customers buy their tires somewhere else and they don't want to go back there for the rotation simply because it's inconvenient, right? It's more convenient to have us do it.
If a customer needs a body shop, what do you do?
I have a Quality Auto Body right down the street that I...
plug for Quality Auto Body.
Hey, Richard does a great job.
Okay, next one on my list, and I know this is a huge advantage.
I disagree completely.
You haven't even heard it yet.
I can already predict.
Do you know that's the definition of something that's difficult? You're disagreeing before you've even heard what it is. So I have 2.5 more here.
I'm just trying to stonewall you so you'll forget it and say something that's
I wrote it down.
You've actually
so I'm not
built up
forget
anticipation.
But it reminds me of my grandfather.
Yeah. See how easy that is to do?
How's he doing, by the way?
Okay, so they have built-in traffic in a dealership. The service department in a dealership has built-in traffic because they have to come back for the warranty. Mm-hmm. There's recalls. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be good at marketing. You can most of the time live off of the marketing of the dealership and what they're doing for new cars and the fact that they bought their car there. But for the most part, you don't have to market like you do with an independent shop. Independent shops have to market. They have to spend money on marketing. The amount of money in an independent shop that you spend on marketing is maybe 10 times what a dealership service department would. And on top of it, you agree to that, but let me even just kick you in the cojones one more time, is most of the time, the little marketing that a dealership does is co-opted by the factory, and so they get money back. So let's say they spend $3,000, they get $1,000 or $1,500 of it back.
Right.
Your silence speaks.
I have
loudly.
a story to share for you. So
about your grandpa.
No, this reminds me. About 28 minutes to the east of us is a town called Norwalk, California, and there's a Volkswagen dealer there. This took me 6 months to get hired on, and I remember my first day opening the service drive door and walking out, and there were like 53 Volkswagens sitting on the drive waiting to be written up.
Yeah.
And customers were standing there, and it was
required
just
no marketing.
Oh, it was
They were
just
just
like,
there.
yeah.
You don't have to be a good service manager. You don't really even need marketing in your toolbox most of the time. If you're at a good dealership that sells a lot of cars.
Yeah, I agree.
It is dependent on the car sales. Like if a dealership isn't selling cars, then it hurts them. But for the most part, you have built-in. When you open the doors, people are in line to come in.
Yeah.
I think I just want to make this very important distinction. So when I was 19 years old, that's when I got started full-time as a service advisor. 6 years in the independent. Took me 6 months and 43 dealerships to get my first dealership job. And the reason I did that, I left a family business. I moved on from that and wanted to go work in the dealerships because there was this thought that the dealerships were the authority, like that was the bar. And I wanted to see how they did it over on that side of it. One of the things that I think we have to understand is the dealerships work on a certain segment of cars, and then as the cars age and get older, that can transition out to the independent. So a lot of times we're dealing with a different repair, a different type of car, different mileage. So a little bit older, and I did learn that dealerships are great at pattern failures. They see the same cars over and over again, and it's definitely an advantage. So the built-in traffic, I think as a consumer, if I buy a Toyota and you have Toyota on your wall and you're backed by the factory, there's that inherent trust that's built with it. So yeah, I think you do have built-in traffic. So
yeah, and recalls,
what you're telling me is you're
right?
4 for 5. Like if you played for the Yankees, you'd be making.
I think I'm
millions.
5 for 5, but it's okay.
I didn't give you the second one.
The next one. So the half on that one was then you get the money back to co-op.
Right.
So any marketing that they do is most of the time offset if they use the right logo or whatever.
Yeah, and so for service managers out there, how can they use this as an advantage and propel their dealership to another level? Can they be smarter on their marketing? Should they market to auto repair consumers?
Yeah, but they don't.
They just kind of do whatever the program is. So what happens?
They
a lot
don't
of
even
times,
understand marketing.
Yeah, in the dealer world, what happens is a representative.
Actually,
from the
that should be one of yours. You should. One of your advantages for independent should be. Let me get you a pen. Should be that you understand marketing. So if car sales, if there was ever a worldwide pandemic, and car sales dropped, you would know how to market.
Stay tuned next week because you'll find out where that ranks on my list. I already had it written down.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
I gave you
who's
one.
ahead of the
so
class.
not only am I
Sanitizer
5 for
for that?
5, but I gave you one, so that one will be mine on that list, right? The last one I have here is that dealerships embrace technology. And a lot of that's driven by the factory, right? But we did a little test. So I'm not coming here to try to convince you of everything. We back our data here with case studies of real world trial and error, right?
Facts.
And so what did we find about, let's just say hypothetically you own what kind of car?
Let's say a Chevrolet.
Let's say you own a Chevrolet in Los Angeles and you want to make an online appointment. Out of 10 independent shops, how many independents will allow you to make an online? Just here locally in our little case study that we did, our scientific. We're not finding a vaccine for COVID. This isn't, just convenience for a customer. How many out of 10 do you think you can make an online appointment? By the way, Chevy dealer, 10 out of 10. So every dealership that you can hit here in LA with The Rock and probably Orange County in the Valley, you can make an online service appointment. How many independents do you think you can make online? 2? Oh, you're wrong.
20%.
But that reminds me of my grandfather.
Yeah.
How's he doing, by the way?
He's not around anymore.
Dead.
Oh, he lost some weight?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot.
4 out of 10.
4.
4. Well, that's better. I've always felt that the independent repair shop world is about 10 years behind in technology when it comes to consumers and stuff like this.
You just conceded? Do we need to keep going on technology?
Wow.
That was too easy.
Well, but
So I'm 6 for 6?
we could do a whole show just on consumers and what they want in their service
Yeah, but what's the
experience.
title of the show today? Is Shop Showdown, Dealerships versus Independents, who has the advantage? So far, I'm 6 for 6.
Yeah, 5 for 6. 5 for 6.
Christian disagrees.
But you pay him.
So, yeah, but
I'm a free
he
thinker.
could go anywhere. He's a
Yeah.
talented guy.
You know, speaking of
free
thinking,
Handsome and talented.
yeah. Hold
So-
on, before you get to that.
This reminds me.
Why don't cannibals like clowns?
Why don't? That was a terrible segue. You
Next
gotta,
time, maybe you guys will set it up for me.
You know what this technology reminds me of is cannibals.
Cannibals.
What? And then what?
Yeah. Why do cannibals not like clowns?
Yeah, why do cannibals not like clowns?
I don't know. Why don't they like clowns?
They taste funny.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
I like it.
Good job.
So also because the factory, right? So let's say you're a Chevrolet dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Chevrolet, the mothership, the big Chevrolet in Detroit,
Right.
will go out and make deals with appointment software. They'll make deals with website companies.
Mm-hmm.
They'll make deals with inspection tools.
You know, it's interesting because I've traveled to a ton of trade shows in the last 10 years. And when you go to the independent shows and then you go to something like NADA or some of the dealership shows, the different levels that the companies play in. So the companies that tailor to, their products are tailor-fit for dealerships, they sometimes don't even want to talk to an independent shop.
Yeah.
It's just the dollars are just so,
Right.
it's staggering.
Well, in the
difference.
factory, you'll go to, an online appointment company and say, hey, if we give you all of the
stores.
Chevy dealerships in the country, then what kind of price would you give us, right? Where independents are kind of on their own.
And it's you guys, you talk about the appointment. It's getting an online appointment. Most independent repair shops, when you go to their website, it's going to say, please select your date, please select up to 3 times, and then a member of our company will get back to you to
Yeah,
confirm
it's
your
a
appointment.
form for the
It's a form,
callback.
right? And I always liken it to, when we could go out to eat at restaurants and sit down and have a sit-in meal. If we wanted to go to dinner tonight, we would go to the app and actually book the appointment in our reservation right there. We wouldn't want to wait for the maitre d' to call us back. And that's what independent shops do a lot of times is they don't have the technology to deliver what the customer wants immediately. And we live in a mobilized planet. Customers want what they want when they want it. And if you don't give it to them, they're going to go find somebody else. So looks like you're 5 for 6.
Yeah, also like running loaners, they'll have software for that.
Yep.
Tons of different things.
So there's a lot that independents can learn from dealerships. However, there is an independent advantage to this as well. We'll talk about that next time.
Cool.
Cliffhanger.
So make sure you put in comments advantages that you think dealerships have over independents that we missed, because I think the audience is going to come up with some good ones that even help my case. Some that I'm going to be like, oh man, I wish I would have thought of that, right?
One of them is going to be that they're still open.
Okay.
That
We'll see.
reminds me.
But
I
go
didn't
ahead,
set
post
that up
those, and we'd love to see your comments. And then let's grab a couple questions before we go.
Ooh, question time.
We go to the voice of God, and
The voice of God is here.
So good to hear his voice.
How's the voice of God's microphone? Am I doing okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.
There's power in that voice.
This first question comes from YouTube. What advice would you give a parts manager who wants to transition to service? Let the jokes commence.
Go for it. It's about time. That's all I can
Well,
say.
it's not what I expected.
That's all I
right?
can say.
Did
It's
you
not even
expect
a
some
joke.
comment about go work for the post office
Yeah.
or
DMV.
DMV's waiting for you? Nothing?
Wow.
That's great. This is a kinder,
That was like a
gentler.
softball thrown
I think
at
that
you, and you're like,
I think that our dealer versus independence has softened
He's
Jeremy a
rattled
little.
right now.
Yeah, we're in his head. I like it. Next question, voice of God.
This question comes from email. Is there an ideal percentage for a door rate at an import dealership should be striving for? Our door rate is $120.
So if you have a good customer experience, you have well-trained advisors and a pricing strategy that the advisors are executing on, your door rate means nothing whatsoever, and your effective labor rate is what matters. And most of the time, your effective labor rate should be higher than your door rate. Now, without being in our coaching group and in our online training, you're going to think that's crazy, right? Because we hear it all the time when we're doing strategy sessions with new clients. Oh, that's crazy, but it takes you about a week. And once you kind of understand the formula, you get that there's a separation and you will stop talking about posted labor rate. It's irrelevant. Effective labor rate is the only thing that matters.
I agree with you. You just got to understand that for the advisors out there, a lot of times that is something that is ingrained in them that, okay, we have to get this much per hour. And so the door rate, I can understand where that question comes from. You have to monitor your effective labor rate. I've always gone off of if you're not at 95% of your door rate, you have too much slippage. And you've seen it. You've seen shops that post 140 and they're only getting 80. So there's a lot more to this question,
the
but
execution.
it's all about the execution.
We talked today with an elite member because when we go through our elite call, we put up the numbers. We have an elite member that manages a very big import store in the middle of the country. They do $12.95 oil changes for life if you buy the car there.
Yep.
So the
And his
labor
effective
rate
was
is-
112?
No, it was a little higher than that even, I think.
I understand that, but
How much labor do you think is in that $12.95 oil change?
5 cents.
No, it's negative. And so that's in that number.
I get that. I understand that. But a lot of the advisors who might be listening to this or watching this don't understand variable rates and how
But
to
that's a
calculate
negative
them.
effective labor rate. And at the end of the day, when he's all said and done, he's at 112 or whatever.
Right, which means
110.
on his repairs and diagnostic work, he's charging 130, 140 per hour.
What
to
it
get
means is he's got a team of advisors that take those opportunities, right? Because we have clients that do free oil changes for life and they count as zeros in that number too, right? They have a pricing strategy and advisors that execute on what that strategy is. We're not just throwing it up against the wall and seeing what sticks. It's very thought out and methodical. You know the system, but I would just say effective labor rate's more important, but we could get the effective labor rate higher than the door rate.
So the answer to that question is getting our coaching.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good question, God.
This next
You
question.
know, God just had his car serviced.
Did he really?
It broke down.
God broke down on the freeway.
I offered him to drive the Jeep truck, you know?
He-
He didn't want it.
Did
He's
he
like,
say
that
he's-
won't fit in my garage.
God
That's what he
doesn't
said.
have room in his garage for that monster.
I thought he said he
What's
was
funny
gonna
is
fly
that
around
God
everywhere.
has a garage. Any jokes for that, Christian? Any garage jokes?
So tempting. But I'm going to leave it for now.
Nice segue. You know what the garage
I'm not even going
reminds
to try it
me
because
of?
I would just blow it up.
My other car is a crucifix.
Oh, now God's getting in on the humor.
I did. Wait. I forgot to tell you guys. Trump sent me a text message the other day that he
President Trump?
President Trump. He said that in reviewing the numbers for the economy and to keep us out of a major recession, that service advisors everywhere need to manage their effective labor rate, and he felt that the average labor rate in service departments across the country is too low, and then we should be charging more.
Wow, right
Straight-
from the President of the
Straight
United
from the White
States.
House. Yep.
Unbelievable. I didn't see that. press conference? Was that on Fox?
It was a text
It
he
was a
said he got.
Oh,
text.
text. Okay.
How do you think I found out that Trump and the
You
CIA
and Jay-Z
watched?
are texting Trump?
Yeah. You heard it here first.
Okay. This next question comes from Alex's Knife Box.
That's the email?
That's their screen name.
Where did this come from?
YouTube.
Alex's Knife Box.
Alex's Knife Box.
What's that mean?
Sounds sharp.
Wow.
Leave the comedy to us, God.
He is on fire today.
If they buy repairs, should the customer get the diagnostic fees applied towards the repair or on top? I generally try to apply to build more of a relationship, but just curious. What do you guys think? Is that losing money or building a relationship?
Age-old question. Go
Billion
take
times.
it, Jay.
If you give it away, you haven't built enough value in your diagnostic process. So it's my answer to that is once the diagnostic service is performed, the fee for service has been earned, and it's a fee that stays on the repair bill. So you've got to build the value in it. You got to have processes and checklists. I think in today's world, the fact that you fixed the car right the first time, you should get fairly compensated for that, and the testing is part of it.
I think a bigger part of that question, and maybe it's the wrong question, is what value as an advisor do you see for your time? Mm-hmm. It's more about how you see yourself and the value of your time, because when I was a service advisor, customers were going to pay. They were going to pay, but I was going to take really, really good care of them. So if you think that, and let's just say 10 cars come in a week that you have to do diagnosis on, and you sell the customers the diagnosis without rolling it in, how many of those are going to get towed out or pulled out because of that?
Hopefully 0.
Yeah, like it just doesn't happen. No. And so it's in your head. And you are thinking with your wallet, and you're not putting a value on your time and how much you care about customers and how you're going to take care of them. And customers will pay for better service. So change the way that you look at it and start looking at it like, hey, customers are going to pay for me, but I'm going to take really, really good care of them, and I'm going to be the best advisor they ever had. And there's a premium for that.
You know where this really comes in is at the moment when that customer asks you that question, your emotional response as an advisor, you don't have time to think. You have less than 3 seconds to respond to that. And if there's any doubt in your mind or your delivery or your response to that, the customer's going to understand that you don't believe in your diagnostic charges, and they're going to roll right over you.
And I would go even a step further, and we teach this in our advisor training, is I never quoted a customer diagnosis.
No.
Never. You're setting yourself up to do everything twice. So like, say you come in, Jay, and I'm like, okay, you're leaking coolant or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. So what am I going to quote you for diagnosis for that?
It depends.
Just name a car. Tell me. Name a car. So
well, BMWs leak coolant all the time. So
okay,
BMW.
what is it usually on a BMW? It's the radiator, right?
Okay.
Okay. So leaking coolant, you pretty much know it's the radiator. So what is diagnosis? What's a pressure check? Like 0.8, 0.6?
0.5, 0.8.
Okay, so what's your labor rate? $3 million an hour? So what are you going to quote me?
2.1 million for the diagnosis.
Yeah, so I'm going to sign an RO for $150.
Right.
And now guess what you got to do?
Sell it again afterwards.
You're going to call me over and over again. Now, do I need the car fixed or not?
You do.
Need the car fixed.
Okay, so what I did when I was an advisor is I never quoted diagnosis. I got a repair authorization. So I would say, Jeremy, I'm going to give myself $2,500 to work with. Looks like it's probably a radiator, but I don't know. We'll have the tech check it out, but that's the worst case scenario. If it's more, I'll give you a call. If it's less, then it's going to be less. So if it's just a hose, it'll just be a hose. But I need something to work with, and I don't want the tech to pull it in and out. If it needs it, it needs it. Now, what matters at that point? Like, you're the customer, you haven't said anything. What matters right now? What's the next thing going on in this exchange?
Time. When are you?
Well, time. I already established I'm saving time. I'm not going to call you 5 times and have the tech come up and back and forth. If it needs a radiator, I want to put in a radiator, right? And as an advisor, as we've established in my list already that is so far in your head, you don't know what to do. When you work at a dealership, you kind of get to know that a Volkswagen Jetta does this, and you know the cars, you know what breaks, you know what the problem is, right? So then what's the next thing in this step?
You have any ideas?
I got plenty of ideas, but I'm trying to leave it on you.
So 80% of the time, what's the customer going to do? They're going to sign and say, okay, what about that other 20%? What did I just save myself?
Well, the second phone call and the sales objection, you're flushing the objection out up front.
Yeah, so, oh no, I just want you to check it out. I'm going to take it to my mechanic.
That never happens.
Yeah, it does.
No way.
Yeah.
Never.
Oh yeah.
Oh. So then how much?
Your customers probably are doing that to a dealership right now.
My customers?
Yeah, you guys can't diagnose it, but then they're getting a tech at the Volkswagen store to diagnose it, and then they're having you put the part in.
The ones that come in and say, I need a water pump.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't just wake up in the morning and
Either way, don't segue into a joke here. Let's be serious. So what do I know now when you tell me that?
I probably don't want you to fix my car.
Okay, and so now I can say, well, where are you going to take it? Who's your technician? Why would you let them touch it? Have you seen how good looking our techs are in the back? Why would you let that ugly, whatever, I don't know, but now I know where I stand with you, right? Mm-hmm. I'm still going to try to get your business, but.
That's powerful.
Now, what if you say, well, no, I'm getting ready to trade it in?
Oh, that's easy to deal with at that point.
Yeah, well, let's not even diagnose it. Let's go down and look at some cars, and sales will fix it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, right there.
But in their mind, they have $2,500, right? Mm-hmm. So I never quote diagnosis. That's my style.
I love it. I think the other really cool thing that happens during that is, no, not a joke. I can see the look in your eye. But but when you do that and you get the repair authorization for $2,500, and let's say that it's $2,750, and you call the customer, how much are they saying? Oh, it's only this much in their head. It's only an additional $250.
Yeah.
But if you start out with a diagnosis of $150 and then call them and tell them $2,750, it's a very different emotion for the client.
Oh, of course it is.
Like,
it's a huge negative.
The whole thing is
response.
a much better experience. And the thing is that when you have a $2,500 authorization, the tech comes to you and says it needs this and this and this, and you hand the RO back to the technician and say, go ahead and do it. All of a sudden, the world is going way
Same thing with like
better.
a runnability, right? Because or a check engine light. Sometimes with the check engine light, you got to put in an O2 sensor to then check the thing. And it's like, are you really going to call 5 times? Like, once again, as an advisor, you can have a value of your time. Like, be a professional.
Absolutely.
Customers don't come in and expect their cars to get fixed for free. That's all in our head. We do that. Oh, it's going to be $150 in diagnosis. It doesn't even mean it. No cars get fixed for that. No customer expects their car to get fixed for that. God, when you took in your car, it was leaking coolant, or what was it? A noise? It died on you? What happened?
It died on me on the freeway.
Did you expect that it was going to be $100?
No.
You knew it was going to be $1,000, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see?
It didn't go when I pushed the go pedal.
The go pedal. Good job. Good questions.
Great questions.
This is a great show. I love it that I'm in your head. Are you going to come back swinging?
I am.
You are?
I'm going to borrow your boxing gloves and an axe, and I'm going to come in.
I hope your list is good. So post in the comments. Let us know what you think the advantages dealers have over independents. And tune in next week to hear Jeremy's list of why he believes independents have a disadvantage to dealerships. That's it for myself, Jeremy, and Christian. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we post new episodes. I'm Chris Collins, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Chris Bulldog Collins. And I'll see you again on the next episode.